KP's Video News, baby. You know what time it is. KP's Video News.
That's right. It's time for KP Video News, and we're going to celebrate this state-sanctioned King Day today. I say that because his actual birthday is on January 15th, and it's not on the 20th. So the government, I don't know, I guess they think it's hilarious for them to do his birthday on the wrong day every year. So that's I guess that's a joke to them. It's funny to them. And but here we go, and I'm gonna do a little bit of his autobiography here. And Martin Luther King Jr., born January 15th, 1929, died April 4th, 1968, was an American Christian minister, activist, who became the most visible spokesperson for the civil rights movement from 1955 until his assassination in 1968. Born in Atlanta, Georgia, King is best known for advancing civil rights through nonviolence and civil disobedience, inspired by his Christian beliefs in the nonviolent activism of Mahatma Gandhi. King led the 1955 bus boycott, and in 1957 became the first president of the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, SCLC. With the SCLC, he led an unsuccessful 1962 struggle against segregation in Albany, Georgia, and helped organize the nonviolent 1963 protests in Birmingham, Alabama. He helped organize the 1963 March on Washington, where he delivered his famous I Have a Dream speech. On October 14th, 1964, Dr. King won the Nobel Peace Prize for combating racial inequality through nonviolent resistance. In 1965, he helped organize the Selma to Montgomery marches. The following year, he and the SCLC took the movement north to Chicago to work on segregating housing. In his final years, he expanded his focus to include opposition towards poverty and the Vietnam War. J. Edgar Hoover considered him a radical and made him the object of the FBI's COINTELPRO from 1963 on. FBI agents investigated him for possible communism tie, recorded everything that he did, and reported on them to the government officials. And on one occasion, mailed King a threatening anonymous letter, which he interpreted as an attempt to make him commit suicide. In 1968, King was planning the national occupation of Washington, D.C. to be called the Poor People's Campaign when he was assassinated on April 4th in Memphis, Tennessee. His death was followed by many riots in many U.S. cities. Allegations that James Earl Ray, the man convicted of killing King, had been framed or acted in concert with government agents persisted for decades after the shooting. Sentenced to 99 years prison for King's murder, he died in prison in 1998. King was posthumously awarded the Presidential Medal of Freedom and the Congressional Gold Medal. Martin Luther King Jr. Day was established as a holiday in numerous cities and states beginning in 1971. The holiday was enacted at the federal level by legislation signed by President Ronald Reagan in 1986. Hundreds of streets in the USF have been named in his honor, and a county in Washington was rededicated for him. The Martin Luther King Jr. Memorial on the National Mall in Washington, D.C. was dedicated to him in 2011. So, this is 2020. This is, it was decades after his death. And right now, you figure, being born in 1929, he'd be up there. He'd be in his 90s right now. So, it's you're talking You know, he'd be 90 years old. So you're talking about now he'd be turning 91 now. But see, either way, when you start looking at what's going on today, if we could have had Martin Luther King for about another 10 years, I think society would have been better for it, and definitely the conditions that black people live in would have been a heck of a lot better. So from 65 to 75, I would say would probably be the golden era for black people in the United States, because after 75, that's when they decided to start pushing more drugs into the black community. They started denying black men decent jobs in order to destroy the black family, and so far they have been successful in the things that they've done to destroy the black family by incarcerating high levels of black men, like holds like 75% of higher rate of incarceration for black men than any other race of people in the United States. And that's by no design of our own. That's by design of the powers that be. Because they realized one thing: a strong black family was creating more opportunities for black people. It was he had a higher success rate, more kids going to college, more kids becoming successful in what they did, opening businesses and becoming politicians. And in order to stop that, they bombarded every major city in the United States with drugs, and later on they incorporated guns. And so these are things that we don't create. We don't make guns, and we don't import drugs into this country. So if you deny a man the right to a decent job, and you stop him from working, you supply his woman with a job, but you won't give him a job, or you won't allow him to get a job. So that makes her basically pretty much the head of the household. You take away the family structure, you destroy the family structure in the black community. And as a result of that, we now have a high unemployment rate, we have a high incarceration rate, we have a high abortion rate, we have a high dropout rate from school, we have a high murder rate, we have a low graduation rate, terrible living conditions, and the list goes on and on and on and on. So personally, I say it's time for a new civil rights agenda and a new civil rights era, so we can try to do what we can to create our own civil rights and get our own families and our own neighborhoods back in order, because basically those outside forces want to see us destroyed. They don't want to see us succeed. And so today, I'm thinking instead of taking the day off work to go down to the basically the state-sanctioned Martin Luther King Day Parade, which is that features more white cops and politicians as it does black people. And if you pay close attention, you'll see what I'm saying. There's more white cops in attendance, and you know, people on that level in the parade than it is black people. I looked at that King Day Parade that they had in Los Angeles last year, and they had more cops rolling down the street on police vehicles and hanging off the back of SWAT trucks in the parade. And it had absolutely nothing to do with Martin Luther King or any kind of civil rights whatsoever. They letting you know that it's a police state. So, you know, how about instead of going to the state-sanctioned King Day Parade that doesn't do anything for you, how about going out and feeding some of those homeless black people that you see laying on the sidewalk, or, you know, trying to go out and try to clean up and paint up your neighborhoods instead. You know, make it something positive that's going to work for you. So hey, that's my opinion, and just look at the parade closely and see what you see. And I know what I saw, so you see what you see, and you know, hey, it is what it is. You know, we allow things to become what they become, and it's time to start working to create more opportunities for ourselves, because as you can see, this whole thing that Dr. King was trying to do in somewhat has failed. It has failed. And you know, so all this black on black crime we have, and this black genocide that's going on, I think he would be highly upset if he was around today to see the state that we're living in. So this is just my opinion.
KP's Video News. KP's Video News, y'all.
Educate,